Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another episode of what is the Arsenal Transfer Show, joining you every single morning at 8 a.m. UK time. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're doing well. Thank you, as always, for making this a part of your morning routines. It is very much appreciated. Good morning to those joining us live in the chat box. A1, Wendy, Alistair, Blackshine, Temi, Martin, Kaiser, Steve. We've got Sweating Merlot, Temi, Paul, James, Olu, Stevie, Roy, Johnny, Red Star, Lars, and plenty more of you guys as well that I can see. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. It means the absolute world. If you could drop a like, subscribe, all of that goodness. We hit 51,000. I forgot to actually say anything about that. But thank you to everyone that helped us to reach 51K. Already well on our way to 52. Who knows? 60K by the end of the season would be a glorious thing to behold. Maybe more. I'll have to wait and see how far our community grows in the next 6 to 9 months or so, which is unfortunately the amount of time that we're probably going to be without Jurrien Timber. Speaking of which, yesterday evening, myself, Dr. Raj, and Sophie had a chat about Jurrien Timber's injury in the return of the Eat, Sleep, Arsenal Repeat podcast. And we were all very, very open and honest with our thoughts on where and what needs to happen on the medical staff debate, and Raya starting in Arsenal's 3-0 win over Luton. More about that shortly, but yes, please, if you haven't done so already, we have kicked off the brand new season with the Eat, Sleep, Arsenal Repeat podcast, returning every Thursday evening at 9 p.m. UK time. Theo Walcott has retired from football. I will always remember Theo Walcott's goal against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge in the 5-3 victory. I talked about this at kind of the live show that we did as one of the most memorable moments of my Arsenal supporting life is that victory. Over 100 goals for Arsenal, joins the 100 club, of course, and is very much appreciated for his contributions to the club. Her score of that goal, of course, in the FA Cup final against Aston Villa. And at the age of 34 decided to hang up his boots. So we wish him the absolute best for the rest of his career. I know he's done some punditry, so we may see him involved in some way, shape or form in broadcasting. We wish him the absolute best. Fingers crossed. Arsenal's third kit is set to be launched today. We have seen, obviously, the usual screen saver. By the time some of you watch this, of course, you probably will have already seen it. Maybe you've even bought it. I know that I will be today. But the Arsenal third kit is expected to launch today at some point. Let's keep our fingers crossed it's soon, because I need to get that new shirt. I'm undecided which player is going to be on the back. So let's wait and see if indeed I go for someone kind of left field, or if we go for someone a little bit more mainstream. I haven't had a Bukayo Saka shirt yet, so potentially we'll go with Bukayo Saka, and Bukayo Saka might be the player on the back this time, because I've never bought one with his name on the back, because I thought, everyone gets Saka, but maybe I need to celebrate what is a great shirt. It's a fantastic shirt. So yeah, we need to celebrate that with a very special player indeed, and maybe that is Bukayo Saka. We'll see. As I mentioned in yesterday's show, David Raya has played 60 minutes in a friendly 3-0 win over Luton Town. The game was split into 3/3 of 30 minutes. Plenty of first-team players in action. Leandro Trossard getting a couple of goals. Bukayo Saka getting another goal as well. Luton Town not playing this weekend. Their game against Burnley was postponed because their stadium remains under construction and improvement works, and so they'll have to play that game against Burnley at a later date. So Arsenal took advantage of the fact that Luton were available for a friendly and played them yesterday. So that means they played that game, and then they got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then, of course, travelled to Crystal Palace to play on Monday. So a good run out, good chance to see David Raya in action as well. And I don't know if we're going to get highlights. I doubt it. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Arsenal release any footage of that game. But it was a strong side that played against Luton. But we talked about that in more detail in yesterday's show, so make sure you go back and check it out. Runarsson is expected to join Cardiff on loan until the end of the season. The Icelandic international spent last season in Turkey and now will be expected to move to the Championship. His contract runs out in 2024. Arsenal do have an option to extend it by a year, so he could leave on loan, and then Cardiff might want to sign him and Arsenal activate that year, and then they agree kind of a fee between themselves. But we might see what happened with Ainsley Maitland-Niles, and he just leaves for free at the end of this season. But he is expected to move to Cardiff on loan. Nuno Tavares. Well, will I have to be eating my hat? Is the question surrounding Nuno Tavares' price tag. You know, I said that if we can get around £15 million, I'd be very happy. Yet we are seeing links with Nottingham Forest over a £22 million move. I've seen even some suggestions claiming that £30 million might be the price tag for Nuno Tavares. Yes, Forest, I can tell you without all certainty that, you know, he's a £30 million player. It's arguably a bargain, Forest, if you can get Tavares for 30 million. You are getting an amazing talent. I mean, you're lucky you're not paying 40 million. No one needs to see what would happen if Nuno Tavares was indeed a 40 million pound player. But you're getting an absolute bargain, Forest, if you can get anywhere a fee between these two prices. That would be unbelievable. Unbelievable. So what a player. What an absolute star. Forest, you got to get him. Got to get him. He's the perfect player for your left wing back system. Do it. Do it now. Tottenham, meanwhile, have inquired about signing Folarin Balogun, according to Team News and Ticks. Very well connected, of course, outlet on socials, suggesting that there's been information acquired that Spurs would like to sign potentially Folarin Balogun. It'll be interesting to see how much Arsenal would want if Spurs were to be the side to buy him. Like 80 million, I guess. So if you want him, it's all of the Kane money. Every penny you got from the Kane deal has to go into signing Folarin Balogun if Spurs want him. I don't think I'd even sell him at all. I just couldn't do it. I could not quantify doing that. I feel like it'd be ridiculous to even see Balogun play in a Spurs shirt. But that is the rumour, that Spurs indeed have inquired about signing Folarin Balogun. There are still suggestions that clubs like Monaco are interested, of course. Fulham also mentioned as a potential club that might sign Balogun after selling, in the process of selling Alexander Mitrovic. So again, let's watch this thread in the next couple of weeks. Mikel Arteta conducted his press conference. He talked about a number of things, including the reaction to Timber's injury. He says it's a huge blow, especially for him having just joined the club. Have the injury that he has is a huge disappointment for him. Obviously for the team, it's a big blow because we recruited him with clear intentions and what he was bringing to the team was evident, and he's not going to be in this season for us. We have to adapt. These things happen, unfortunately, and we have to move on. Regarding the transfer market, he says, I am more thinking about the resources that we have within the team to keep doing what we want to do. It's true that he was giving us a very different things in terms of what we could do on both sides. But again, these things happen and we have to be prepared for that. He was pressed on it a little bit more regarding kind of the transfer side of things. He says, we didn't plan for this injury, so we have to assess now what the options are and the best way to get the best out of the players. I cannot control anything that is not here. We are always open and we have to always be open to react if something happens, not only with an injury, but with the market as well. And that's what we are doing. So it's a pretty clear intention there, I think, that, you know, the kind of where we are at in regards to a potential replacement, they're open to it. So that's certainly it. He was also asked about players like Kieran Tierney leaving the club. He says there are not any plans on doing anything like that. So pretty upfront, you know, regarding the Tierney situation when asked about if any defenders could leave between now and the end of the window. But we do know that one thing being said doesn't necessarily mean something different. He's also asked about England reaching the Women's World Cup, courtesy of that Arsenal Alessia Russo goal. He says, I support the World Cup in general, and obviously those two teams, Spain and England playing the final, are related to me. But it's just phenomenal. It's phenomenal for England and what they've done in 2 consecutive tournaments. It's just remarkable what they are doing. In Spain, we are really happy as well because we've had so many issues in the last year or so with that squad and a lot of things that happened there. It's a great way to show the spirit and the character of Spanish people to say, okay, against adversity, we are here in a World Cup final. So I'm ready to enjoy it. I want to enjoy the game. That's it. And of course, fingers crossed for an England win on Sunday. Arsenal, Alessia Russo taking it to Spain, hopefully bringing home the tournament would be, and the trophy, of course, would be an amazing, amazing achievement. Really interesting reports from ESPN yesterday suggesting that Weigmann could be considered as a potential replacement for Gareth Southgate if they ever wanted to move on. I'd be very interested to see that and see what would happen. I think that women need to be given the opportunity in men's football for coaching. I think, we've seen such great improvements in the women's game. Why not give them an opportunity? So, yeah, go for it. Regarding potential incoming transfers, Ansu Fati, Arsenal are said to be monitoring the situation after the player has said that he is open and willing to leave Barcelona. Let's see if indeed that does end up happening. But he's a talented player, but full of these injury issues that we know he's had over the last few years or so. Is he over those injury issues? It's difficult to know. You never know if they're going to be able to or if they will re-injure themselves. Arsenal do need a wide player. Be very intriguing to see if Arsenal move for him. I see Spurs have been linked as well. Moving to the Premier League would be very, very intriguing indeed. Plays on the left, can play right, can play even through the middle. Is a very versatile forward, but there are a lot of question marks about the player's fitness. And lastly, Benjamin Pavard has been mentioned as a potential replacement for Jurrien Timber. Fabrizio Romano telling people to keep an eye on this one. He has been linked elsewhere with Arsenal as well. Right back, centre back, France international, of course, open to potentially leaving Bayern Munich after spending a number of years there and winning plenty of trophies and, of course, being in the French national side. He's only 27, which is a good age, to potentially bring in a player. Look at the value we've got from Leandro Trossard being signed. So Benjamin Pavard, French international, Bayern Munich regular. It'd be interesting to see if we're able to get hold of him as maybe a replacement for Jurrien Timber. And lastly, the preview show for Arsenal's game against Crystal Palace on Monday night will be taking place this evening, 5 p.m. UK time. You'll be able to join me and some of the members from the Discord server for a look ahead to that game against Crystal Palace on Monday night. So make sure that you tune in. Speaking of Crystal Palace, Mikel Arteta signing a new deal, turning down Chelsea. Ha, 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 ha. Very good indeed. Right, let's go to part 2 and your questions right after this. Right, let's go to the chat box and have a look at what questions are being asked. Jalali says, is there a danger of us overcomplicating our formations this season? We need the unpredictability for sure, but Partey at right back left us exposed at times against Forest, and Zinchenko solves the issue. I really don't think that it left us too exposed. They had one chance in the first half, which came from that header, which actually in behind Saliba, not on Partey's side. And in the second half, I don't particularly remember either them creating all that many chances besides the counter-attack, which obviously was during a different period. We'd already brought on, I think, Gabriel by that point. The structure had changed. I don't think that was Partey's fault in any way, shape or form. So, no, I don't think so. I also saw this video clip doing the rounds yesterday on social media, which was like, Partey's fitness is trailing off. And it was like a video of the rapid Brennan Johnson beating him. And I'm like, hold on. Brennan Johnson is absolutely as fast as anything. Of course he's going to get beaten by Brennan Johnson. So it's kind of a ridiculous thing to be discussing Partey's fitness trailing off. I don't think that it is. I don't think we're overcomplicating formations. I think that we played a very good system against Forest. We dominated the game. We just needed to create some a better frequency of high-level chances. So hopefully that improves things. I think Zinchenko returning will definitely improve things. And he started the game against Luton yesterday. So hopefully that means he's pretty darn close to coming back for that game on Monday night. Dave says, what's Pavard's contract situation? His contract runs out in 2024. So he only has a year left on his deal, Dave, which could mean that he's available for a very reasonable price tag. So let's wait and see if that happens. Zungtar says, 27. I thought he was a kid when he scored that one to go against Argentina. Was it against Uruguay? I feel like it was against Uruguay, not Argentina. I might be wrong. Let's have a quick check. It was Argentina. You're right. I don't know why I had Uruguay on my head for some reason. But what a brilliant goal that was. That was in 2018. So he would have been 22 at that stage. So yeah, very, very good goal. And I think that summer tournament earned him the move to Bayern Munich, didn't it? So yeah, very, very good player. I like him a lot, and I very much look forward to seeing, if he is to join Arsenal, what he can bring to the team. But a deal has to be struck first. Lynn says, Tom, Tapsoba and Pavard have been linked, so which one would you choose? Pavard, because Tapsoba is more of a left-sided centre-back. He is right-footed, yes, but he's more of an out-and-out centre-half. I'd like to see someone who's got more of the versatility to play right-back brought into the team, and Pavard certainly has that. So let's go to More Than a Wheelchair, says Tom, comparing the men's football, what levels do you think the women's football is actually at? Don't forget Wrexham destroyed the USA team. I watch women's football, but it's not the championship level. No, there's no doubt in my mind that the competitivity between men's and women's football, if you put two teams against one another, as has been demonstrated, that's not what we're talking about here. I'm not saying that England should bring in one of the women players. That's not what we're being discussed here, mate. We're talking about a coach, and a coach is all about thought and processes and coaching of individual players and teams and ideas. So we're not talking about bringing a woman into the men's team. We're talking about giving the opportunity for a female coach a chance to go at a chance to coach the men's team. It's very different. It's a very short-sighted way of looking at it to consider what the result between a friendly match between Wrexham and the United States means for a coaching level. Very, very different indeed. Paul says, do we need to learn how to kill off games? Yes, in short. We have a habit of getting a lead and then taking our foot off the gas and giving away silly goals as well. Yeah, we absolutely do. I think we've been saying it for some time. We need to make sure that we ultimately get into a position whereby we are scoring 3, 4, 5. And I think Arteta knows that as well. So let's see if we can do it. On Monday is the next chance. Harry says, question, who would be your ideal replacement for Timber? Mohamed Simica is the one. And do you expect us to compete with Man City again this season, along with going far in the Champions League? Again, yes, would be my answer to that question as well. Paul says, do we need to learn how to kill off games? Oh, we didn't know. I don't know how I managed to answer that literally within seconds of saying it already. Mike's okay now. Okay, sorry. I'm hoping the microphone is fine now. Boss says, any news on Mbappe? No, nothing. Nothing on Mbappe. Sorry to disappoint you. Kish says, would you be happy with the Ansu Fati forward signing? It seems more of a left winger than a false nine than a right winger. Let's have a quick look at Fati's record playing on either flank as a footballer. Ansu Fati. A few full stats. Current overall balance. Has played on the right hand side. Of course, the majority of his games, 90% of his games have come from the left hand side, but he has played on the right. And I think as a winger, you have that ability to play on both flanks. I think there is scope to do that. So he's not my first choice. Don't get me wrong. I have other players ahead of him in terms of my choice, but if it's a case of Fati or nobody, I'd rather we brought him in as a potential option as well. T Down Under says, how far away is Jesus? Not wildly far away. I think weeks we're talking about rather than months. So hopefully back very soon indeed. Name says, do you think we'll actually replace Timber this window? I'm hopeful, but I wouldn't guarantee it. But I'm hopeful that we will. HB says, holding is still a decent defender. He just cannot fit in the Arsenal system. For a Sheffield United or a Luton Town, it'd be very useful. Yeah, it's interesting that none of those clubs have yet kind of inquired, if you like, about Rob Holding. You would have thought that it might be the right move for someone like him. Maybe he ends up going to the Championship. There is an expectation still that he'll move. So there you go. Vince says, hi, Tom from Malaga. Very nice indeed. We need Kudus as cover for Saka, but also can play through the middle. If Saka gets injured, then we're doomed. I think that the Kudus thing seems to be kind of sadly moving away from Arsenal. West Ham have agreed personal terms. They're close to agreeing a fee, I think, with Ajax. It seems that Kudus will end up at West Ham United, and lots of clubs, have had the chance to sign Kudus, but it seems that West Ham might be winning that race. Interesting that he decided to move there instead of Brighton, but I think potentially there might be a release clause involved that was not happily agreed with Brighton, so maybe that's the reason as to why. Thomas says, morning Tom, if the transfer window ended tomorrow, who would you have liked to have joined? Simican and who's my right winger? Not Pedro Gonçalves, somebody else. Oh, How have I suppose it's Kudus, yeah. So I guess Kudus and Simakan would have been my two picks to sign. So there you go. Let's go to Martin says, surely if we don't sign a replacement for Timber, we're left with exactly the same defence as we had last season, which wasn't good enough and is an injury away from a crisis. That's absolutely right. And that's why I think it's imperative that we sign a defender during this window. More Than a Wheelchair says, I'm also asking the question because I'm loving the Women's World Cup. And I see people online on social media moaning that the men's team don't get this far, etc., etc. You sparked at how annoyed I was yesterday scrolling. But I've seen plenty of disparaging comments. I had a comment yesterday. I think it was yesterday. No, it would have been the day before yesterday, which was like, why are you talking about Alessia Russo taking England to the World Cup? Are you crazy? Like, grow up. Like, it's 2023, for goodness sake. Like, you can't talk about women's football. Get real. Seb says, 2 injuries away from a crisis. Saliba and Tommy were both out. I guess so. I still think that it's absolutely imperative that we bring in another defender during this window, with Timber being out for the rest of this season. You know, there's a good chance that Tomiyasu could leave the club, you know, in a year's time. He might want to seek more football. You never know. We might have other defenders wanting to leave in a year's time. So bringing in somebody in now, knowing we've got Timber coming in next season, I think would be the right thing for us to do. Let's go to Bambino. Says, let's get Felix. Atletico are willing to let him go for free. I think he's going to Barcelona on loan, isn't he? I think that's always been his preference. So I doubt that we'll be able to convince him to join us over Barca on loan for a season, which I find a really strange decision by Atletico Madrid, to be fair. I guess it's just a case of wanting him gone and bending to the players' will somewhat as well. On behalf of Bailey, says, Marcus, who is better, Prime Aouar or Renato Sanchez? Probably Prime Aouar, to be honest. Renato Sanchez, I don't feel ever reached the height. It's very much a FIFA player that everyone enjoyed playing with and using on a video game. But Aouar, in his peak at Lyon, was probably better. Speaking of that, hopefully a little bit later on today, we'll be uploading our live show that we did last weekend. It's taken a while to sort out the editing of that, but hopefully I'll be uploading that for you so you can watch that to your heart's content. And you can watch some of what we did last weekend at the live show. Phil says, what do you think about Arteta's substitution strategy? It seems like he is always hesitant to disrupt the rhythm when he can bring on fresh legs to see out the match. Yeah, it's a part of his game that I think needs to be improved. He needs to be better with his substitutions, be better with rotating. So all of those things, I think, are the kind of the finer criticisms and the level of development that's still needed from Arteta. Arthur says, who starts at left back against Palace? What's our strongest 11? I'm concerned for that game. Zinchenko, hopefully. Zinchenko started the game against Luton yesterday in the friendly, so hopefully he's available. If not, I'd probably start Kivior at that left-back role. Kish says, who would be first choice over Fati? I know you've mentioned Kudus previously and Nico Williams. Yeah, both of those I would prefer. Also, Pedro Gonçalves, I think would be a better option. Arguably, I mean, we talk about injury records. Pedro Neto, Premier League experience. Maybe he is more reliable than Fati. Very different, and he's more right-sided as well than Fati is also. Granty Poos says, Tom, can Cancelo go as a replacement for Timber? He could, but I don't know how accessible Cancelo is ultimately. People in the chat box, Ira says KT, Kieran Tierney is just not going to play. It just really, I can't see it. I can't see Arteta bringing him in. It's just not his biggest fan, sadly. And Chuck Wasey, I think, has gone to AC Milan, is he not? So I don't see that one happening. Yes, he moved to AC Milan this summer, so no chance of getting him. Mark says, you said that you like Simakan. Would you take from Edmund, Tapsoba, Mark Gehi, Simakan, Sutalo, Benjamin Pavard, Timothy Castagna, Carl Walker, Peters, Ivan Fresneda? I'd pick Simakan out of that group. He would be my pick, along with Benjamin Henriks as well, as another potential option in that right back versatile position to look to bring in. Ola Lekan says, would you take Taiwo Awonyi from Nottingham Forest? No, I don't think so. I think that we'll be looking, I think Eddie Nketiah for me starts over Awonyi anyway. So no, I don't think I would. I don't think he pushes the quality needle for us. He's not the type of striker that I think would fit into the Arsenal team. Carl says Arsenal should give Raul Waters a chance. The boy is a good defender. Again, I do think that, but you can't just throw him into a Premier League game. You need to ease him in with cup opportunities, and we should be doing that this season. I think that is the right way forwards. Ira says Arteta is overrated and he complicates things. Yeah, really overrated. Like the youngest manager in the Premier League, bar Gary O'Neill, taking a team that finished 11th when he took over to a title race in 3.5 years. Overrated. Yeah. Ridiculous. Fuad says, is the Champions League draw on the same day as deadline day? No, it's the day before deadline day. The Europa League draw is on the same day as deadline day. The Champions League draw is on the 31st of August. The Europa League draw is on the 1st of September, I believe. That's to the best of my knowledge. Let's go to Andre says, I think Arsenal will try for a defender on loan with an option to buy. It's very difficult to get those deals done, but you never know. We managed to do it with David Raya, so never, ever rule it out. Harold says, has Arteta's demeanour changed? Is he harder now? I don't think so. I think he's always been pretty principled and stubborn and cold. I think that's always been the way that he has been as coach of Arsenal. So, no, I don't think so. Phil says, is Arteta in your top 5 Prem manager list? Let's go through. Let's see how many managers I would rate above Mikel Arteta in terms of what he is like as a coach right now. I would rate, let's have a look. Is he better than Eddie Howe? Yes. Is he better than De Zerbi? Yes. Is he better than Pep? No. Is he better than who's Palace's manager? Roy Hodgson? Yes, of course. Marco Silva? Yes. Eric Ten Hag? Very close between those two, Eric Ten Hag and Arteta. So they're probably in the top 5 together. Thomas Frank, yes. Ange Postecoglou, yes. Bournemouth manager is Areola, who's very good. I do rate him, but Arteta's better. Better than Poch? Yeah, it's 1 more trophies in England than Poch, isn't he? Better than Jurgen Klopp? Still, again, I'll put Jurgen Klopp is more accomplished. So it goes Pep, Klopp, and then it's close between Arteta and Eric Ten Hag. Moyes, yes. Forest's manager? Who's for Steve Cooper? Yes, of course. Everton, Sean Dyche, yes. Sheffield United's coach. Who is Sheffield United's coach? I don't know who Sheffield United manager is. It is Paul Heckingbottom. Yes, I'm going to say yes. Is he better than Gary O'Neill? Yes. Is he better than Luton, Vincent Kompany, and Unai Emery? I think Unai Emery will be a little bit of point of contention for people, but Arteta is definitely in the top 5 Premier League manager list. I think it goes Pep, Klopp, very close with Eric Ten Hag, and then it's probably Emery 5th, I think, and then Poch 6th. I'd put that in that order. I think I would do it, and then De Zerbi 7th. I think what people have done is that they look at what De Zerbi did last season with Brighton, and let's be honest, they were the 6th best team in the Premier League last season. Chelsea, dreadful. Spurs, dreadful. Liverpool, dreadful. They couldn't come above them. And yet, after one season, De Zerbi suddenly is better than Arteta, who took Arsenal, as I say, from 11th to that position. Eddie Howe did do a very good job. There's something about Eddie Howe, I'm not quite sure what it is, but I think Eddie Howe just falls outside that top 5 for me. So, yeah, but the fact that I see anyone suggesting that De Zerbi is a better coach than Arteta still at this stage, I find baffling, personally, considering what Arteta has done with this Arsenal team as a manager. It's not just coaching, it's the overall squad building, it's the overall process of taking Arsenal to where they were, to where they are now. De Zerbi had a really good season of coaching with Brighton, but it's more than like Arteta's created kind of like an entire project situation here. But it's not to say that De Zerbi's not done a great job. De Zerbi has done a great job at what he's done and has been very fortunate with the players that he's had at his disposal. But I think that, you know, what De Zerbi did at Brighton was brilliant, but there's no doubt in my mind that Arteta has done far more at Arsenal in the time that he spent there. Right, let's finish the show off there. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in, and I very much look forward to seeing all of you. Oh, John Bamford's back, my favourite, our biggest fan of TGT. John, it's been an absolute... I've missed you, my friend. I've missed you. Where have you been after Arsenal involved in the title race? I haven't seen too much of John. But thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. It's very much appreciated. Have a fantastic Friday. You've made it to the weekend. Congratulations. I hope that you always do stay safe and stay well, and that you will join us for our preview show a little bit later on this afternoon. Have a fantastic day and enjoy. And as always, up the Arsenal.